During an innocent game with friends out on the street, LaSundra witnessed something that foreshadowed a potential tragedy. This was not LaSundra's first paranormal experience. The first part of her story is about a ghost appearing in her apartment. It will be linked in the description of this episode. My name is Edwin. Here's a true scary story.
I was probably like 9 or 10 when this happened. My parents had moved us to a larger house, a 3-bedroom this time, just because we needed our own space. We were getting bigger, and 4 girls can't just share like a room. It sat on a dead-end street. We were probably like the 4th house down, but to come on the street, it had like one of those, I guess a boulevard or a median. So it was like you come in, and if you didn't want to go anywhere else, like a lot of folks in that around that area used to kind of like a turnaround. We met some friends there. My parents would allow us to stay out to they would say, you better be your butt in the house before the street light comes on. This particular day, it was so many kids on that street. We were playing kickball. So it started to get dark. And of course, it was my older sister, myself, me, and then it was my younger sister. So some of the kids had their parents called them in the house saying, hey, it's getting dark. Y'all go ahead and come in. So they left me and my 3 sisters, my 2 sisters, and then it was probably 2 or 3 other kids. And we were just kind of like, too dark to play kickball, let's play tag. As we were playing, it got dark enough to where we really couldn't see each other. So that made it fun. Like if you can't see me, you can't tag me. We were playing along, and then it started to get really, really dark. And I was like, man, let's get it all out before we have to go in. We're just running in the street having a blast. So we hear like horses. We kind of look like at the boulevard or the median, like whatever the little turnaround is. We're like, man, we can't see anything. We just kept playing, and as we were playing, it's like they got louder and louder. I was like, man, it's some horses. So of course we started walking to like the boulevard area, and then we see this carriage, and it was only like 2 horses. We're like, man, so it's like the people are like sitting up, like great posture. So we're like, man, let's go pet the horses. At this point, we may have been about 30 yards from it. We're like, yeah, it's there. Let's go pet the horses. So they're coming around, and we are running. But it felt like we were like running as hard as we could to try to catch this thing. And then once they got probably around, I'm going to say just over halfway. No, it wasn't even halfway. Maybe just a quarter of the way down, it's like they stopped, but we kept running. But it was like we were running in place, like we weren't getting any closer. They were looking at us. We all just kind of stopped, and we were looking, and then they just kind of moved on. And then we're like, we ain't never going to catch them, And then so we ran in the house, and right as the last kid closed their door, it was a high-speed car chase. And it involved maybe 3 or 4 police cars. It was an old raggedy car. And this man was driving it. I mean, he like gunned it down the middle of the street. And it was cars like parked on the side. It wasn't like a wide street. So I'm like, man, I don't even see how he didn't run into one of those parked cars. But right where we were playing at, the car just barreled through. And at the end of that street, it was kind of like a wooded area. A couple months before, they had chopped down this big tree. So it was a big stump at the end of that street. And so that car hit that stump and kind of got stuck. And of course, right after he went, like seconds after he flew down there, like 3 or 4 police cars just followed behind him. If we were there in the middle of that street, one of us would have gotten hit and killed, because there would have been no way a child could have survived a hit like that. I remember my mom just like hugging all 3 of us, just like, man, whoever or whatever that was, like saved y'all. We never saw that carriage again. This happened maybe April or May. But we thought initially, I'm like, man, it couldn't be a Christmas float. They couldn't be practicing for the Christmas parade, because Christmas was nowhere in sight. And it was warm outside because we all had on like shorts. And then it was crazy because I remember it being dusk because we were watching the lightning bugs. But that was, I mean, this thing, thinking back on it, I'm like, man, was it glowing? And like sometimes me and my sisters will talk about it, and one of my oldest sisters was like, yeah, I really feel like it was glowing. The people in the carriage, it was a man and a woman. He had on a top hat, kind of like the one like Abe Lincoln used to wear, like the really tall one. And the lady had her hair kind of like, it was like flipped in like a bun, and she had like 2 coily pieces of hair like on either side. And they were both like dressed to the nines. Like he had on like a suit, and she had like a dress that covered her entire neck. And it looked like they were a couple out of like the 1800s. Like if they were going to like a special ball, that's how they were dressed. And the wagon that they were in, I don't even remember it having a cover on it, but I knew it wasn't real because it didn't look real. You know, it kind of, and I would ask my sisters all the time, like, man, you know, do y'all really think we saw that, or did we make that up? And my older sister was like, there's no way we could have made that up, because we all saw it. We all 3 saw it. And plus those other kids down the street, we all saw it. We don't want to sound like crazy saying, oh, we saw a ghost, you know. My mom had this look on her face, like, again, like, but my dad, it looked like once that car like blew, like plowed through the street, it looked like all the blood had rushed from his face. Like he was just like, what? You know, days after that, the kids that were playing in the streets, you know how parents walk by other parents, and one of them mentioned it, and my mom was just like, I was so shocked. And the other kid, the younger one, her mom was like, I didn't think she was telling the truth. That's why I wanted to come ask, you know, about that. And they had asked other people on that street if they had saw anything like that. Like it was an older man that used to live, like, he was across the street from us, but he lived maybe 2 houses down, like diagonal. And he said he'd never seen anything like that happened on the street. But then again, he said it was never that many kids on that street either. My sisters and I, we just call it the guardian angel. You know, it was a couple guardian angels that was looking after us, because I'm telling you, where it was like right where we were playing, that car just barreled down the street, and one of us, if not all of us, would have gotten hit. Somebody was looking out for us.
Has a paranormal occurrence ever saved your life? Share your story with the rest of us over on TrueScaryStory.com using the contact form. To find out when new stories come out, be sure to follow True Scary Story. Until next time, thank you very much for listening.